Who is Ronaldinho?
Well, that is a massive question. Millions of people around the world remember him for his magical skills on a football pitch. I mean, they remember his unforgettable, massive smile. But very few people truly know the remarkable, heartbreaking, and triumphant story behind his success.
Right, and that is our mission today. We are going to explore the reality behind that magic. Was Ronaldinho simply born with extraordinary talent? Or, how did a young boy from a poor neighborhood in Brazil become one of football's greatest entertainers?
Exactly. What challenges and sacrifices shaped his journey? And perhaps most importantly, what lessons can we learn from his incredible life?
Those questions are the foundation of our deep dive today. And for you, our listener, this story offers a really unique opportunity. We know that many of you are listening right now to improve your English. You want to learn, but you do not want to read a boring textbook.
Yeah, you are in the perfect place. We are going to speak clearly. We will use natural American English at a very comfortable, slow pace.
By joining us on this journey, you are going to hear new vocabulary used in a real context. You will absorb the natural rhythm of the language. I mean, it is a fantastic way to build confidence in your own spoken English. You will improve your listening skills simply by enjoying a great story.
And Ronaldinho's story is the perfect vehicle for this. His life is a masterclass in vital human experiences. Today, we are going to explore themes like passion and creativity.
Right.
We will look closely at perseverance, which is, the ability to keep trying when things are difficult. We will discuss resilience, the strength to recover from tragedy. We really want you to feel these words as we tell his story.
We have to start at the very beginning, I think, the environment that created him. Let's travel back to the year 1980 to a city called Porto Alegre in the south of Brazil.
Right, so we find ourselves in a favela. A favela is a poor, densely populated neighborhood in Brazil. Life there is incredibly modest. The streets are often unpaved dirt. The houses are small and simple. It is a difficult environment where families must work constantly just to survive.
And into this environment, a boy is born. His real name is Ronaldo de Assis Moreira. His family did not have much money, but they possessed something very powerful. They had a deep, consuming love for football.
Yeah, football was the absolute center of their universe. His father, João, was a very hard-working man. He spent his days working at a local shipyard, doing heavy physical labor to build and repair large boats. The work was exhausting, but in his free time, João transformed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was an amateur footballer for a local club. He just lived for the game.
The work ethic in this family was intense, right? I mean, Ronaldinho's mother, Miguelina, was just as determined. She worked long hours as a salesperson to bring food to the table. And after a long day of selling, she studied late into the night. She was actually studying to become a nurse.
Right, they were fighting for a better life. And their greatest hope was actually Ronaldinho's older brother. His name was Roberto Assis. Roberto was a football prodigy.
A prodigy, for our listeners, is a young person with amazing natural talent that is very rare for their age.
Exactly. Roberto was so incredibly gifted that everyone in the city of Porto Alegre was talking about him.
So Roberto was the golden child. And his talent paid off. He signed a professional contract with a massive local football club called Grêmio. This contract was a lifeline for the family. Grêmio wanted to keep their new young star happy, so, the club bought the family a beautiful new house in a wealthy neighborhood.
It was a massive transition from poverty to comfort. This new house was a dream come true for a family from the favela. It even had a large swimming pool in the backyard. For a young Ronaldinho, it felt like they had finally won the lottery of life.
But that dream house came with a devastating cost. And this is the moment in the research that completely stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah, it is a dark, terrible turning point. It was the year 1989. Ronaldinho was only 8 years old. The family was having a celebration at their beautiful new home. It was the parents' wedding anniversary. It was also the older brother Roberto's 18th birthday. It should have been, the happiest day of their lives. The family was celebrating, and the father, João, suffered a sudden, massive heart attack. He fell into that new swimming pool.
Oh, my God.
And he drowned. Roberto, the 18-year-old brother, came home from his football training and discovered his father's body in the water. The father died in the very pool that was supposed to be a symbol of their success.
I cannot even begin to imagine the psychological weight of that moment.
Yeah.
To be 8 years old and lose your father on a day of celebration, there is a heartbreaking irony here. The symbol of their wealth became the site of their greatest tragedy.
It was a devastating trauma. And this specific trauma shaped Ronaldinho's entire worldview. A prominent journalist named Tim Vickery analyzed this period of Ronaldinho's life. Vickery explained that the young boy realized something profound that day. He realized that life is extremely short.
Life is precarious, right? It is uncertain. It can end in a single moment
Yeah,
without any warning whip.
exactly. The psychological impact was massive. Ronaldinho learned that if you want to enjoy life, you must do it now. You cannot wait for tomorrow because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. This realization perfectly explains why Ronaldinho later played professional football with that giant, famous smile. It explains his joyful, free-playing style. But as we will explore later in our deep dive, this mindset also foreshadows his future struggles with strict discipline.
This brings us to the concept of resilience. He had to recover from this darkness. It reminds me of a brilliant jazz musician who experiences deep personal grief. Sometimes a musician will feel overwhelming sadness, but instead of writing depressing music, they channel that grief into creating joyful, upbeat, high-energy jazz. They fight the darkness by creating light. And the football became Ronaldinho's light.
Yeah, the football became his safe place. It was his therapy. After his father died, his older brother Roberto became the father figure of the family. Roberto eventually became Ronaldinho's manager, and Ronaldinho became completely obsessed with the ball. He played constantly.
And he was not playing on perfectly cut green grass either.
No, he was playing in the streets. He played in the dirt. He played beach soccer on the heavy sand, which builds incredible balance and leg strength. Most importantly, he played a game called futsal.
We really need to explain futsal,
Yeah.
because it is the secret ingredient to his later success. Futsal is a fast-paced indoor type of football. You play it on a hard court, not grass, and the ball is smaller, but it is also heavier.
Right, the heavy ball is crucial. Because the ball is heavy, it does not bounce very much. It stays close to the floor. And because the court is very small, you're always surrounded by defenders. You cannot simply kick the ball far away and run after it.
You have to adapt.
Exactly. You must learn to manipulate the ball in tiny senses. You have to make split-second decisions. You have to invent new tricks just to survive on the court.
All of that street soccer, the sand, the futsal court, it created absolute magic.
Yeah.
There is a story from our sources that sounds like a myth, but is completely true. Ronaldinho was playing in a local youth match. He was just 13 years old. The final score of this game was 23-0.
Yeah, and a 13-year-old Ronaldinho scored every single one of those 23 goals. All of them.
Wait, really? Just picture the parents of the opposing team standing on the side of that dirt field. They're watching this skinny kid do things with a football that defy the laws of physics. Every time he touches the ball, it is a goal.
Yeah.
It is jaw-dropping.
That kind of raw, explosive talent cannot stay a local secret forever. The professional scouts were watching. He joined the Youth Academy of Gremio, the same club his older brother played for. He spent years developing his skills there. And then in 1997, he stepped onto the global stage.
He traveled to Egypt to play in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. This is a tournament where the best teenage players from every country compete against each other.
Right, and before 1997, the Brazilian national team had never won this specific tournament, but Ronaldinho changed their history. He led Brazil to the championship. He was the star of the tournament. The whole world suddenly knew who he was.
Let's talk about the name the world came to know. His birth name is Ronaldo, but he became famous as Ronaldinho.
Right, so in the Portuguese language, if you add the sound inho to the end of a name, it means little. So Ronaldinho literally translates to Little Ronaldo. You see, back in the late 1990s, Brazil already had a senior football player named Ronaldo Nazario. He was an absolute superstar, a global icon.
So when this new, younger kid named Ronaldo started making headlines and eventually joined the national setup, the coaches and fans needed a way to tell them apart.
Exactly. The older, established star remained Ronaldo. The younger, smaller teenager became Ronaldinho, the Little Ronaldo.
But carrying that name in Brazil comes with an immense psychological burden. Football in Brazil is not just a sport, it is a religion. The fans demand pure perfection. If you are labeled a prodigy in that country, the pressure must feel like a physical weight on your chest.
Oh, it breaks many young players. They just freeze under the expectation.
It is like a young, unknown actor being cast as the lead hero in a massive Hollywood blockbuster movie before they have even finished their acting classes. The cameras are rolling, millions of dollars are on the line, and everyone expects you to be perfect on the very first try. How do you survive that without completely losing your mind?
You survive it through perseverance. He was not the tallest player on the field. He was not the most muscular. He was actually quite skinny in his early years. But his technique was absolutely unmatched. and his older brother Roberto acted as a shield, protecting him from the media and the agents. Ronaldinho's personal response to the crushing pressure was simply to smile. He treated professional high-stakes matches exactly the same way he treated a game in the dirt with his friends.
That mindset earned him his first professional contract with Grêmio in 1998. He was a professional now. But the Brazilian league, as great as it is not the center of the global football economy. To truly become a worldwide icon, he had to leave the warmth of his home country. He had to cross the Atlantic Ocean to Europe.
Right. So in the year 2001, he made the biggest move of his young life. He traveled to France. He signed a contract to play for Paris Saint-Germain, a famous club often called PSG.
But this transition was the opposite of smooth. I mean, it was incredibly chaotic.
It was a legal nightmare. His Brazilian club, Grêmio, and his new French club, PSG, got into a massive dispute over the transfer rules and the money. Because of these complex legal arguments, Ronaldinho was blocked from playing professional football for many months. He had to just sit and wait.
For a young man whose entire sense of joy and identity is tied to having a ball at his feet, being legally forced to sit on the sidelines must have been pure torture. He lost his match fitness. He lost his rhythm.
Yeah, and when the lawyers finally finished arguing and he was allowed to step onto the pitch in Paris, his first season was highly inconsistent. He showed brief moments of magic, but he also had games where he was practically invisible.
He was facing a massive culture shock. He went from the warm beaches of Brazil to the cold, rainy winters of Paris. But the shock was not just the weather, right? There was intense friction with his new coaches.
The French newspapers began to publish rumors. They claimed that the young Brazilian was enjoying the famous Paris nightlife a little too much. They wrote stories about him staying out late at nightclubs instead of resting for his matches.
We need to look at this objectively because our sources highlight a very specific cultural stigma here. There is a long-standing stereotype regarding young players who come from extreme poverty.
Yes, it is important to understand the media narrative of the time. The stereotype is that when a young person from a very modest background suddenly acquires immense fame and millions of dollars, they lose their discipline. The media narrative suggests they cannot handle the wealth, so they choose the party lifestyle over their health and training.
But let's be honest about human nature. A sudden influx of massive wealth and global fame would test anyone's discipline. If you give millions of dollars to a young man in his early 20s and drop him in the middle of Paris, one of those exciting cities on earth, it is completely natural that he is going to explore it.
Oh, it is a very human reaction. What is fascinating, however, is not the rumors of the nightlife, but how Ronaldinho eventually adapted to the European game. Because European football is very different from Brazilian football. Europe is highly tactical. It is about strict formations, defending as a unit, and following the coach's specific rules.
This is where his childhood futsal experience meets the strict European system. It reminds me of a wild jazz improviser being thrown into a strict classical symphony orchestra. A jazz musician plays by feeling. They play notes that are not on the page. But suddenly, this jazz musician is sitting in an orchestra, and the conductor is demanding that he read the sheet music perfectly.
That is exactly what French football demanded of him.
But instead of failing, he figured out a way to read the strict European sheet music without losing his Brazilian soul. He learned when to hold his position and follow the rules, and exactly when to break the rules with a sudden burst of jazz improvisation.
Yeah, he later credited his time in France for saving his career. He stated that the physical demands and the tactical strictness of the French league forced him to mature. It transformed him from a boy into a man. By his second season at PSG, he had blended his street flair with European discipline.
Paris was the rehearsal. It was the training ground. But the real show is about to happen on the absolute biggest stage in the world. We are moving forward to the year 2002.
The 2002 FIFA World Cup. It was hosted jointly by South Korea and Japan. Ronaldinho was called up to the senior Brazilian national squad, and the Brazilian coach paired him with two other football legends, Ronaldo and Rivaldo.
The media called them the 3 Rs.
Right. They formed one of the most terrifying, legendary attacking trios in the history of the sport. The three of them together were simply unstoppable. They marched through the tournament, and Brazil eventually won the World Cup.
But inside that tournament, there is one specific moment that we must unpack. It is a moment that fans and experts still argue about today, decades later. It happened in the quarterfinal match. Brazil was playing against a very strong team from England.
The match was extremely tense. The score was tied 1-1. And then Brazil was awarded a free kick. But the location of the ball was very strange. It was incredibly far away from the English goal. It was about 40 yards away, positioned on the right side of the field.
From that distance and that angle, shooting directly at the goal is generally considered impossible.
Yeah.
100% of the time, a player will try to cross the ball. They will kick it softly into the penalty area, hoping a teammate can jump up and hit it with their head.
And the English goalkeeper, David Seaman, knew this. Seaman was an experienced, world-class goalkeeper. Because he was absolutely certain that Ronaldinho was going to cross the ball, Seaman took a few steps forward, away from his goal line. He wanted to be ready to catch the cross out of the air.
So he left his goal exposed.
Exactly. Ronaldinho ran up to the ball. He struck it with his right foot. But the ball did not go toward any of his Brazilian teammates. Instead, it went high into the hot Asian sky. It looped in a massive arc, flying over the heads of every single player in the penalty area.
Oh, wow. And David Seaman suddenly realizes the ball is flying directly toward his goal. He starts running backward in a panic. He reaches his arm up as high as he can, but the ball dips down perfectly. It sneaks just under the crossbar and goes into the back of the net. Goal for Brazil.
It was stunning. The stadium just erupted. That goal knocked England out of the tournament. But the debate immediately started. Was it intentional? Did he actually mean to shoot from 40 yards away? Or was it a fluke, like a complete accident?
The English side firmly believes it was an accident. Our sources include a quote from Danny Mills, an English defender who was on the field that day. Mills claims that right after the ball went into the net, he looked at Ronaldinho. Mills says that Ronaldinho just shrugged his shoulders and gave a sheepish, guilty smile to his teammates.
Yeah, Mills interpreted that smile as an admission of guilt. He believes Ronaldinho was trying to pass the ball, completely messed up the kick, and got incredibly lucky.
But Ronaldinho tells a very different story.
Ronaldinho claims it was 100% intentional. He says that before he kicked the ball, he was studying David Seaman. He noticed that the goalkeeper was standing too far forward. He saw the empty space behind him, and he decided in that exact moment to punish him for the mistake. He claims it was pure vision.
It is the football equivalent of the Mona Lisa's smile. We stare at the painting and we argue forever about whether she is happy or sad. We will never truly know the absolute truth of what was in Ronaldinho's mind in that split second. But the fact that he was skilled enough and creative enough for the entire world to believe he meant to do it, that is the definition of a legend.
Only a genius could make an impossible accident look like a master plan.
Right. Winning a World Cup makes you a hero in your home country forever. But his next career move would elevate him from a hero to a king.
We enter the year 2003. FC Barcelona, one of the most famous and historic clubs in Spain, signs Ronaldinho. The transfer fee was 27 million euros. Now, it is vital to understand the context of Barcelona at this specific moment in time.
They were not the dominant force they are today, right?
Not at all. Barcelona was in a dark period. They were struggling on the field. The fans were depressed. The club felt heavy, negative, and completely lacking in identity. They desperately needed a spark.
And Ronaldinho arrived and literally brought the smile back to the city.
His impact was immediate and overwhelming. He brought that joyful street football energy to the massive Camp Nou stadium. He played with a freedom that infected the rest of the team. During his golden era there, he led Barcelona to win the Spanish league title La Liga twice.
And he secured the ultimate club prize. In 2006, he won the UEFA Champions League.
Right. Because of these team successes, the individual awards followed. He was voted the FIFA World Player of the Year in 2004, and he won it again in 2005. That same year, in 2005, he won the Ballon d'Or, which is the golden ball awarded to the absolute best player on the planet. He was untouchable.
But there is one specific match from 2005 that demonstrates his dominance far better than any golden trophy. It is a moment of pure sporting respect. We have to talk about El Clasico.
Yes, El Clásico is the name given to any match between FC Barcelona and Real Madrid. It is arguably the most fierce, politically charged, and intense rivalry in all of sports. The fans of these two clubs absolutely despise each other.
So the game is being played in Madrid, at Real Madrid's home stadium, the famous Santiago Bernabéu. The stadium is packed with over 80,000 screaming Real Madrid fans who want nothing more than to see Barcelona destroyed.
But instead, Ronaldinho destroys them. He gets the ball near the middle of the pitch, he accelerates down the left side, he dances past a world-class Real Madrid defender as if the defender is a training cone. He runs into the penalty area and scores a brilliant solo goal.
Wow. And then later in the game, he does the exact same thing again. He takes the ball, beats multiple defenders with pure speed and footwork, and scores another breathtaking solo goal.
And then, something impossible happened. As Ronaldinho celebrated his second goal, the fierce, angry Real Madrid fans started to stand up.
Wait, the entire stadium. Tens of thousands of rival fans standing on their feet.
Yeah, they gave him a standing ovation. They clapped for him. They cheered for the man who was currently humiliating their own team. In the long, bitter history of this rivalry, Ronaldinho was only the second Barcelona player to ever receive a standing ovation at the Bernabeu. The only other man to achieve it was the legendary Diego Maradona.
To put that into perspective for our American listeners, that is like a diehard New York Yankees baseball crowd standing up and cheering wildly for a Boston Red Sox player who just hit a game-winning home run against them. It violates all the unwritten tribal rules of sports. You never, ever applaud the enemy. But Ronaldinho's talent was so beautiful, so undeniable, that the rival fans were forced to respect the art.
The art of football at its absolute peak. But his legacy at Barcelona goes beyond his own goals. Our sources detail a quieter but equally important contribution behind the scenes. He became a vital mentor.
Right, and he mentored a young, very shy teenager from Argentina named Lionel Messi.
Yes. When Messi was first brought up to practice with the senior team, he was quiet and intimidated by the superstar players. But Ronaldinho immediately took Messi under his wing. He treated the young Argentine like a little brother. He made sure Messi sat next to him in the locker room.
He gave him advice that only a street footballer could give. He told Messi, play free. He told him to play with happiness.
He protected Messi's confidence. And years later, when Ronaldinho finally left Barcelona, he passed his legendary number 10 shirt directly to Messi. It was a literal passing of the torch to the player who would go on to become arguably the greatest of the modern era.
It is a beautiful chapter.
Right.
But the reality of life is that the brightest stars often burn out the fastest. What goes up must eventually come down. And the decline of Ronaldinho was sudden and severe.
The turning point was the year 2006. It was another World Cup year. The tournament was held in Germany. Brazil entered the tournament as the heavy favorites. They had the best players in the world. But the reality on the pitch was a massive disappointment. Brazil looked slow and uninspired, and they were eliminated in the quarterfinals by France.
The reaction back home in Brazil was furious. The fans felt completely betrayed. The anger was so intense that vandals in one Brazilian city actually set fire to a 23-foot-tall fiberglass statue of Ronaldinho, burning it to the ground.
The media backlash was incredibly harsh, and it was made worse by Ronaldinho's own actions. Almost immediately after Brazil was knocked out of the World Cup in failure, Ronaldinho traveled back to Barcelona and threw a massive, loud party at his house.
The fans saw that and thought, he doesn't care. We are crying over this loss and he's dancing. Why did this happen? Why did a player who was at the absolute peak of his powers suddenly lose his focus?
We have to return to the psychological analysis from his childhood. Tim Vickery noted that Ronaldinho was a man who lived purely in the moment, seeking joy. After 2006, his dedication to the hard work of football simply vanished. He started skipping training sessions. He spent more time in nightclubs than in the gym.
The media labeled it a hedonistic lifestyle, meaning he was living purely for pleasure and fun.
They called him a childlike genius who refused to grow up. Impartially speaking, his physical fitness dropped significantly. He gained weight. He lost that explosive speed that made him so dangerous.
While the media was vicious, I think we have to look at this with a bit of human empathy. Think about sitting down at a massive, incredibly expensive buffet. You eat the best steak, you eat the finest seafood, you eat the most amazing desserts. Eventually, you were completely full. You couldn't take another bite if you tried.
Right, you lose your hunger.
It's exactly. By the age of 26, Ronaldinho had won the World Cup. He had won the Champions League. He had won the Ballon d'Or. He had literally conquered the football world. He had eaten everything at the buffet. What was left to prove? Why force yourself to wake up early and run in the freezing rain at practice when you have already climbed the absolute highest mountain in your profession?
The deep, burning motivation was gone, and elite professional sports will not tolerate a lack of motivation. In 2008, a new manager took over at Barcelona. His name was Pep Guardiola. Guardiola demanded strict discipline, intense physical pressing, and absolute focus. He looked at Ronaldinho and decided that the Brazilian's time was over. Guardiola needed to build new culture, so Ronaldinho was sold to AC Milan in Italy.
The transition to Italian football is notoriously difficult. Italy is famous for its highly organized physical defense.
And Ronaldinho struggled with consistency. He played for AC Milan from 2008 to 2011. He was no longer the undisputed best player on the planet. His body was slowing down, but the genius inside his brain was still there.
He still produced moments that made you gasp, right?
Absolutely. In his second season in Italy, despite the physical decline, He managed to score 15 goals and provided numerous assists. He proved that you can lose your speed, but you never lose your technique.
But his era of European dominance was clearly coming to an end. It was time for the final chapters of his playing career, and those chapters brought him back across the ocean, back to his roots in the Americas.
Yeah, in 2011, he returned to Brazil to play for Flamengo. A year later, he moved to another Brazilian club, Atlético Mineiro, and it was here that he had a truly beautiful, unexpected resurgence, a final burst of glory.
He adapted his game. He couldn't run past 5 defenders anymore, so he used his vision. He used his passing.
And it worked brilliantly. In 2013, he led Atlético Mineiro to victory in the Copa Libertadores. For our listeners who might not know, the Copa Libertadores is the South American equivalent of the UEFA Champions League. It is the most prestigious club trophy on the continent. Winning it was a massive triumph for an older player that many media outlets had already written off as finished.
He still had the magic touch. Following that victory, he played briefly for Querétaro in Mexico, where he again received a standing ovation from rival fans, and finally for Fluminense back in Brazil. In 2018, he officially announced his retirement from professional football.
Retirement is a dangerous time for professional athletes. For decades, their entire life is structured by coaches, training schedules, and matches. When that structure disappears, many struggle to find a new path. For Ronaldinho, life after football became incredibly turbulent.
The joy on the pitch was replaced by very serious trouble off it.
He faced severe legal and financial crises. In 2018 and 2019, Brazilian authorities seized his passports and restricted access to his properties. This was due to massive unpaid environmental fines. He had attempted to build a charity institute, but construction violated environmental protection laws and the fines piled up into the millions.
But the financial trouble was only the beginning. This story takes a truly bizarre and dark turn in the year 2020.
In March of 2020, Ronaldinho and his brother Roberto traveled to the neighboring country of Paraguay for a business trip. Upon arrival, police raided their hotel room and arrested both of them. The charge: entering the country using fake Paraguayan passports.
I have to stop you there because logically, this makes absolutely zero sense. Why on earth would one of the most recognized human faces on the planet use a fake passport?
So,
He cannot hide his identity. The moment he steps off a plane, 1,000 people pull out their cell phones to take a picture of him.
it was incredibly confusing. His lawyers claimed he was given the passports as a gift by local business sponsors and that he used them foolishly without understanding the legal implications. But the authorities in Paraguay did not care about his football legacy. The law is the law.
And the consequence was severe.
Ronaldinho was placed in a maximum security Paraguayan prison. He spent over a month inside the jail cell. In fact, he spent his 40th birthday locked inside that prison.
The contrast is staggering. Think about the arc of this man's life. He went from a dirt field in a favela to lifting the World Cup covered in gold confetti, to receiving a standing ovation from 80,000 screaming fans at the Bernabeu to sitting on a cot in a Paraguayan jail cell on his 40th birthday.
It is a tragic reality check.
It perfectly illustrates a harsh truth about life. The skills that make you a genius in one specific area do not automatically translate to the rest of your life. On a football pitch, his creativity, his ability to break the rules, and his total freedom made him a god. But in the real world of complex business deals, tax laws, and border security, you cannot just perform a magic trick and dribble past a judge. Street smarts do not equal legal smarts.
He relied heavily on his brother and associates to manage his life off the field, and that reliance led him into very dark waters. Eventually, his legal team paid a massive sum of bail money, and he was released to house arrest in a hotel before finally being allowed to return to Brazil.
It is a dark chapter, but we cannot let that chapter erase the core of who he is. Despite the legal failures and the immense public embarrassment, his inherent joy never fully faded away. He has a deep desire to give back to the world.
Right, his legacy outside of the legal trouble is heavily focused on charity. Even during the height of his career in 2006, he became an official ambassador for UNICEF, working to improve the lives of children globally. Later, he took on a serious role as a UNAIDS ambassador, using his massive platform to promote HIV and AIDS awareness, specifically targeting youth populations.
And his cultural impact is everywhere. In Brazil, there's a hugely popular comic strip called Ronaldinho Gaucho that children read every day. He has a wax figure in Madame Tussauds in Hong Kong. He has tens of millions of followers on social media.
And he is using that influence to create opportunities for others. In 2023, she launched an incredible project called the Ronaldinho Global Street League.
The RGS.
Yes, it is a worldwide street soccer organization. The core mission is to find underprivileged street kids, kids growing up in poverty just like he did, playing in the dirt with immense talent, and give them a structured path to stardom. He wants to ensure that the next generation of creative street players does not slip through the cracks of society.
He is heavily involved in the business of the sport now. In 2024, he even expanded his reach into the United States, becoming a co-owner of an American soccer team called the Greenville Triumph. So, you look at his life today. He is a global ambassador, a charity leader, a team owner. He is safely retired and enjoying the fruits of his labor.
Well, that is what everyone thought, but our sources have provided us with a massive, genuinely shocking update. Something unbelievable happened recently in June of 2026.
Wait, what are you talking about?
At the age of 56 years old, Ronaldinho made a decision that shocked the sporting world. He officially came out of retirement. He signed a professional contract to play competitive football again, joining an Italian Serie C team called Ravenna FC.
You cannot be serious. At 46 years old, that is physically grueling. But you know what? I love it. It completely proves the theory I have always held about him.
Oh, yeah. What is your theory?
Football is not just a job for him. It is not just a way to make money or gain fame. Football is his oxygen. He literally needs it to breathe. It reminds me of an aging, legendary rock star. The rock star is in his late 60s, his voice is a little raspy, his knees hurt, and he's millions in the bank. He doesn't need to tour, but he cannot stay away from the stage. The music is in his blood. He needs to feel the energy of the crowd.
He just wants to feel the ball at his feet again in a real stadium.
He wants to play the music. It is
Yeah.
a beautiful, crazy final note to this story.
It is the perfect ending. What a tremendous journey we have explored today.
Let's reflect on the immense ground we have covered. We started in the dusty streets of a favela in Porto Alegre. We witnessed the tragic loss of a father and the psychological shift that created a legendary smile. We followed his rapid rise through Gremio, the culture shock in Paris, the sheer genius of the 2002 World Cup, and the absolute peak of human athletic performance in Barcelona.
And we also analyzed the heavy fall, the loss of motivation, the failure of the 2006 World Cup, the struggles in Milan, and the deeply humbling reality of a prison cell in Paraguay. And finally, the shocking return to the pitch at age 46.
For our listeners who are using this deep dive to improve their English, let's lock in those core themes we discussed at the beginning. We talked about joy, the ability to smile even when the world expects you to crack under pressure.
We explored determination and resilience. He proved that you can endure the devastating loss of a parent, take that deep pain, and transform it into a driving force for success.
We analyzed creativity, the beautiful ability to take the wild, unstructured jazz of your childhood and blend it with the strict, classical rules of the professional world without losing your soul.
And above all, the power of following your passion. True magic in this world comes from combining relentless, invisible hard work with a genuine, visible smile. You can reach the absolute peak of your profession, and you can still have fun doing it.
That is the ultimate lesson of his life. Before we end our deep dive today, we want to leave you, our listener, with a final provocative thought to consider. Think about the state of modern sports today.
Modern football has become highly tactical. It is driven by data analytics, computer modeling, and incredibly strict coaching systems. Players today are trained in academies from the time they are small children to operate almost like perfect athletic robots. They are told exactly where to stand and exactly when to pass.
So as you go about your day, ask yourself this question. Will the highly controlled, data-driven world of modern sports ever allow another player to play with the pure, unstructured, rule-breaking freedom of Ronaldinho?
Or was he the very last of a dying breed? Was he the last true football magician we will ever see?
It is a powerful question, and one without an easy answer. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. We hope you found the story fascinating, and we hope you feel more confident in your English listening skills.
Keep practicing, keep immersing yourself in stories, and always remember the power of a smile.
We warmly invite you to continue your journey of improving your English by joining us for the next deep dive in the English Podcast Football Legends series. Until then, take Ronaldinho's advice to a young Messi: play free and play with happiness. Goodbye.